Hey folks, welcome back to Guitar Wishlist. My name is 3-Chord Dave, and today we're talking about the Fender Katana, because I think it's cool. Now don't forget, every single episode of Guitar Wishlist is heavily influenced by this book right here, 1001 Guitars You Should Dream of Playing Before You Die. There's some very cool stuff in here. Guitars all the way back to the 1930s. It's very cool. You should check it out, and if you want to check it out, links in the description below to get your very own copy, so you should definitely check that out. Also, don't forget, you can check out 3-Chord Dave merch, also linked in the description, if you fancy helping out the channel. That'd be super cool. Now, let's talk about the Fender Katana, and what is it, why does it exist, and where did it come from? All of those questions and more will be answered. Now, the Fender brand, I suppose, the Fender Corporation, Fender in general, in the early 80s was not a happy place. CBS were running out of money, they were trying to cut costs, they were trying to, I don't know, basically Fenders were not what they used to be in the early 80s, and everyone was getting a bit like, what the hell? The likes of Kramer and Jackson were becoming 80s icons, and Fender was like nowhere near it. So dealers were pressuring Fender and saying, look, we need something a bit more contemporary, a bit cooler, a bit kind of pointy. And Fender had zero interest in doing something like that. So under pressure from the dealers, marketing director Dan Smith, who absolutely hated what he called pointy guitars, calling them disgusting and revolting, said that they had no choice. They were under pressure from the dealers. They had to produce something. So he sat down with the art program on the Macintosh. That's how long ago it was, on the Macintosh, and screwed around for a while. That's how he came up with the Katana. So there you go. Someone screwing around on a Macintosh. Anyway, we got a guitar out of it, so who's to complain? Now, the body was made out of basswood. There was a maple neck, a set neck, 2 humbuckers and a floating tremolo. Those are the main points in the specs for these guitars. Very interesting design, which kind of looks a little bit like a Jackson Randy Rhoads, but hey, let's not dwell on that. It just looks a little tiny bit like it, that's all. But yeah, these were obviously not flavor of the month within the Fender company at the time, so they weren't pushed too heavily. In fact, the book describes these as being pushed half-heartedly to the dealers. Now, of course, in 1985, Fender was bought by an employee consortium of sorts, and CBS were told to get lost. So that meant the end of the Katana completely. However, it did come back in various forms, mostly as Squires. There's been a few Squire variations of the Katana. Notably, they usually have one pickup in the bridge position, and they also have bolt-on necks instead of set necks. But still, they're Katanas and they keep the pointy headstock, so they're still cool in my book. Last year, of course, Fender produced a Katana bass as well out of Fender Japan. And these original Katanas were produced in Japan as well, because Katana, Japan, Fender, all those 3 things went together to make a pretty cool guitar package. As you'd expect with a guitar that had such a poor sales record, there is low numbers of these guitars out there. Not many of them were made or sold at all. So it's very difficult to get your hands on a 1985 edition of this guitar. However, if you wanted to pick up an early model Katana, you're going to spend somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. Which actually, when you think about it, for a rare Fender is not that bad a deal. These could actually rack up some value over the coming years. So I'd like to know what you guys think of the latest entry to Guitar Wishlist, the Fender Katana. I think they're really interesting, and having been freshly converted to the Flying V style, very intrigued. So let me know in the comment section below what you think. Don't forget that 3-Chord Dave Live happens every Saturday right here on this channel. You should be a part of it. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll be back with another guitar video very, very soon. And until then, take care.